I don't know what I was about to say.
Hi, welcome to this little Zoom meeting. I'm Simon Brooks. We've also got Bill Lepp. He's the guy with the glasses, other than me. And we've also got Gilbert Schirsch, who is a high school teacher. Bill and I are both storytellers. And I thought it'd be kind of a fun conversation to talk about storytelling and high schools and how the two mix and sometimes don't. So Gilbert, I sent you a link to Bill's Substack, and you were about to comment on that before I hit the record button.
Yeah. Well, I admired the thought process of an outsider coming into a school knowing they're about to tell a story to an audience of teenagers, and you're trying to get a feel for what the building is like. And one of the details that stuck out in Bill's article was one of the principals you met had a sweatshirt on, right? And it was like, I don't know exactly what it said, but it was something that, this is not a typical principal wearing the suit type of thing. It was like a comment that, it was a out there kind of sweater that was definitely hilarious. And I think you said, "Oh, so you're wearing that?" And the principal was like, "You betcha." And then you're
Yeah.
like, "Okay, I know this place is going to be a little bit low key and I'm going to have an easier time telling a story here." But every single time you go in, you are sort of getting a feel for the place before you even tell the story. You're getting a feel for the audience. And I just really liked that because that is me day one with the freshmen and really first month with the freshmen. What are these kids like? Right. Because I
You were
teach
gonna,
kids all the way through 4 years, right? So getting a feel for what these freshmen are like it was a very it was very relatable what he was saying in that article. I appreciated that.
yeah, and you work with high school kids,
Oh
and
yeah.
you're in Harlem, New York.
Yes.
But do you live in Connecticut? Did I read that right? Did I understand that
Correct
right?
that. Yeah, so I commute in. No, any teacher will tell you if you are on a single income, aka you are a single dude with no girlfriend, hoorah. Hello, anybody out there? You probably can't afford to live in the city, which is totally fine. So I commute in from Connecticut, and I get off at Harlem 125th Street, and I'm 2 blocks away from the school there. So it's actually a pretty okay commute. Most of my writing actually happens on that train. Kind of been the office for the last 3 years.
So what time do you leave your house in the morning?
I am up at 5. I'm cooking a whole bunch of meals and I am stretching out because my body hurts as a PE teacher and I just can't stop myself from playing dodgeball when I want to. I need
Fair.
it, man. I gotta hit these kids when I can.
That's right.
Um, Legally, of course.
Legally, of course.
But I'm on the train by 6:50. I'm probably writing for about an hour and then I get off at around 8, and then the day starts at 8:20.
Man, God bless you, man. Then you get home at 8 or 9.
So I run a weightlifting program after school that finishes at 4. I get back on the train. I'm probably back at like 5:30. I'll run to the gym, cook a meal at 6:30, and then I'll try and read a book. And yes, this is why I am single. Hello, what's up? Yeah,
Well, hats
I
off to you, mate. Hats off to you. So,
appreciate you.
Bill, do you want to tell our audience what you do and how you work so that people get an idea of what you're up to and all that?
Sure. Um, I don't get up at 5. I'll start with that.
It's
Unless
a
I got
great choice. I'm
unless
not
I got
getting
to
up at
catch a
5.
plane. Yeah. So I've been a full-time professional storyteller, humorist, comedian, whatever word you want to slot in there. It's been my full-time job for the last 20, going on 24 years, I guess. So I go all over the country and I tell in all sorts of different venues. I'm in festivals, storytelling festivals, and art festivals, and I go into state parks and do corporate stuff. But it used to be more, but probably a third of what I do is going into schools. A lot of times when you go to a storytelling festival, they either bring school kids to you or they send you into schools. There used to be a program out in Utah that would take storytellers out there, and the goal was to put a storyteller in every school in Utah every 3 years. And so
Oh,
we would go to two or three different schools a day, and sometimes they'd be kind of inner city, and sometimes they'd be way out in the middle of nowhere. They'd be K through 12. It'd be a public school K through 12. There would be 15 people in the whole school. So,
And the teachers. Wow, that's crazy.
no, yeah, no. But I've been in a wide variety of schools all across the country. From I don't think I've ever done a school in New York City, but I've done schools in a lot of other big cities and a lot of tiny towns. And so it's I do elementary through high school. So just, and I've been doing that for, again, almost 25 years. So just going into a school with the elementary school kids, especially with, I mean, fourth graders are my absolute favorite audience in the whole wide world because
Whoa, what a take. What a
yeah,
take.
well, they have language skills. They're getting puns. They're starting to get sarcasm, and they're still nice. They want to
Yeah,
be
yeah.
entertained. And then if I go into a high school, I mean, if I go into a junior high school or a high school, I said this in the article, I think, but if I win them, if I get them on my side, then it's some of the greatest experience in the world. It's just, I really feel like I've accomplished something. But a lot of times I go into schools and I'm just getting the blank stare. And then afterwards, kids will come up to me in the hall and they'll have 1,000 questions for me or tell me how funny I was. But nah, they're not going to say or do anything in front of everybody else. So, it's just, I got to start from the minute I go in the school, figuring out what kind of atmosphere I'm going to be running into. And also, it's good to talk to the people in charge because just to listen to what they say gives you an indication of what I can get away with saying on stage.
Yeah, sometimes the artwork on the walls helps with that as well, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, which is interesting. Yeah, when Bill talked about the sweatshirt guy with the like, this is going to be a good school to walk into. I walked into, so I, like Bill, travel all over the states, not quite as extensively as Bill does, but I do a lot of work here in New Hampshire and Vermont, and some of those are inner city schools, and some of them are, like Bill said, teeny tiny rural schools where there's, they have open classrooms, and the older kids help the younger kids learn, which is like pretty cool, I think.
Oh yeah.
But there was a school I walked into once, and the atmosphere, as soon as you walked in, it was just like you knew that something was up. And I started talking to one of the teachers, and they just didn't want to like talk to me that much. It was like, you're going to be down there. I was like, can you tell me a little bit about the school? Like, not really. I got these things to do. And everyone I spoke to was like that. And it was, you kind of get the idea that this is going to be tough, right? The teachers aren't talking to one another. The admin doesn't show their faces at all, and like, you're in there, set yourself up and get ready for the kids. It's kind of like, okay, let's go.
The worst. My God. Man, that's so interesting. For one, the first thing I'm thinking about is my life is very different from your guys, just in terms of like, I am like a routine. Like, I can tell you exactly what I'm doing every single day at 8:25 or 12:16, right?
Yeah.
Like my day is solely routinized. But this is actually making me think when my school sent me out for recruiting last year.
Okay.
So if you don't know, New York City public schools, if you're a taxpayer in New York City, technically your kid has the right to apply to any high school in New York City, right? And there are obviously New York City high schools that are, highly rated, and then there are schools, maybe like mine, that are less well rated. And so there's this huge application process right out of middle school. Like kids in the eighth grade are essentially
wow,
going through the college application process. And then vice versa, high schools are actually doing what they can to try and recruit as many kids as they can to their school. And if you're like our school, we're recruiting because we need kids in our school just from a money standpoint, right? Every kid represents a certain dollar amount that your school receives from the taxpayer.
Yeah.
Whereas other schools are recruiting talent, right? What are the best performing eighth graders? Um, but I remember being sent out to a bunch of schools. And one of the schools I ended up landing in had like a standard school fare is everyone has their table and everyone's at the table and the kids are walking around, they're just asking questions. But this one school had this setup where you go into a classroom and you present your school for about a half hour. Um, and I brought two students with me and I was like, game faces on. We are here to win these students' hearts. Like, we want to be funny. We want to be excited about our school. When we get to this slide, Catalia, you're going to talk about this. When we get to this slide, Kaya, you're going to talk about, I don't know, Pi Day, right? When you get to Pi the teachers, right? We're going to show pictures of it. And in that one scenario where we were allowed to present the school like that, it really wasn't about the stats of the school. It was how well we could tell the story of our school. And that was the one that was the one middle school we cleaned up. I got a bunch of those kids to come to our
Hmm.
school, and they came day one, and they're like, you're the reason I'm here." And I'm like, "Well, sorry to let you down, kid. Tricked you. Gotcha.
Too late now.
Now you're stuck."
Yeah. So are they stuck? Are the kids stuck? If they,
No, you can transfer out. You can transfer out freshman year if you want to. You can transfer out anyway, but freshman year is kind of the big one where they decide to come or stay.
yeah,
Um, just based on their initial impression of the school. And that's fine for anyone, right? You go in for a year, you say, this place really isn't for me. That
right.
Are
happens
you
with college folks.
are you from New York or that area?
No, I'm Connecticut. I'm a dude, I'm a suburb kid. I'm
Okay.
like a middle class from the burbs white boy.
Yeah, because I went to my senior year, and this is I don't know, probably 50% of West Virginia where I live. There's only one high school in the county, and
Wow.
so I mean, there's no choice at all. And if it sucks, it sucks, you know.
Yeah.
And mine, we had a principal that was just universally hated, but we had wonderful, wonderful teachers. But then I went to junior high in my first year of high school in Dayton, Ohio, which I mean isn't New York City, but it was a big inner city school that was way different than rural West Virginia. I can tell you that. But but what's interesting is no matter what school you go into, whether it's way out in the middle of the country, some tiny little school in the middle of Kansas, or I don't know, in New Orleans, you still face a lot of the same. There's still a lot of the same issues going on. I mean, there's the same happy things that are going on, and there's great teachers, and they're working hard with the kids. But then at the same time, there's drugs and body image issues. I mean, I said this in the article too, and so I think people tend to think that like an inner city school might be tougher or worse off than a school out in the middle of the country, but they can be equally great and equally awful.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, I've gone into elementary schools, and they were telling me that there was a kid who had gun violence in his own home, and this was like in a really quiet rural area. And they also have high drug problems in some of these rural areas because there's nothing else to do, and that comes down to like drugs in the house for the kids, gun violence in the house for the kids, and it's no longer an inner city school problem. It's a problem that I think goes across the board, at least in America. I can't speak for other countries because I've not worked in schools in other countries. But yeah, my elementary school teacher was also his nickname was Hitler to give you an idea of
Oh,
how
wow.
well loved he was.
Jeez. Sticking the landing there. Wow.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
God.
we weren't a big fan. But yeah,
It's
so I
actually,
think it's
oops,
it's
sorry.
really interesting that no, it's all right. It's really interesting that I think that some people think that wow, there's just like these inner city schools, like these odd problems, but I think it's much broader than most people realize, generally speaking.
I'll never forget the interview that got me the job. Um, and I should say it wasn't a highly competitive job. It was much more like we need a guy, and this guy has a certificate and two thumbs. And I was like, "That's me. That is me. You can hire me." But With that said, I do remember my principal asking me this question, and I appreciated his upfrontness for this, right? He kind of just addressed the elephant in the room. He's like, "You're a white boy from the burbs, man. He's a black guy who grew up in the Bronx, right? He was part of the gang scene. He got out of it, built himself out, became a dean, or was a teacher, became a dean, became a principal, sort of climbed the education ladder." Um, but he asked me straight up, "You're a white boy from the burbs. What makes you think you can teach these kids?" And I remember this was over the phone before I got the interview, but I remember just pausing and saying, "Kids are kids, man." So, yeah, I'm probably not going to be able to relate on a whole lot of levels, at least in the beginning, but they're still teenagers, right? They're going to have these body image problems that Simon just brought up, and they're going to have their first girlfriends and boyfriends, and they're going to relate to joy and they're going to relate to kindness in much the same ways that any person does. And I think I can work with that. um and he appreciated that answer, and then he invited me for an interview, and I don't know who else showed up for the interview. I'm sure nobody did. He tells me there was like two or three other people, but I think he's yanking my chain there because the interview was August 20th and like the first day of school was like August 29th or something. They're just like, "We need a PE. We need a guy. We need a guy in there." And I was like, "Yeah, no, I need the money. Send me that way, dude."
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really cool. So, I want to talk about school culture a little bit,
Mm.
and how is school culture in? I mean, I'm sure you know primarily from your like high school, right? But do you get together with other teachers from other school levels, like middle schools and elementaries? Do you know what the culture is in other schools in that area, or not so much?
I have some experience outside of my own school. Um, I can tell you it's odd. We have violence in our school, there's no doubt. But with that said, I would also tell you our school culture is pretty good. Like we do have these surveys that come out, and they ask the kids basically, how do you relate to the adults in this building? How do you feel about the teachers? And they're generally on the positive side. Um, but I can also tell you, back in my student teaching days, I spent a week in Scarsdale High School. And so my student teaching was actually at an elementary school in Scarsdale. And when Bill was talking about, your fourth grade being your favorite audience ever, like I got that. Like I was a rock star as an elementary PE teacher. Like, we get to move in your class. I don't care what you're talking about. You're the best, right? Totally got that. Sweet. But I went to Scarsdale High School for 1 week just to get a feel of what was high school like. Because I remember telling my cooperating teacher, "I love these little kids, but I think I'm meant for high school. I think I'm meant for conversations." And Scarsdale High School is one of the top performing public schools in the nation. And I can tell you, it was weird walking down those hallways. Like kids were stressed. Kids were consistently thinking about their grades. They come from the most competitive, everybody's dad is like a CEO of a company type
Yeah.
deal, right? It's Scarsdale. Majority of parents go on the train into the city, make a bundle of cash, and then go back to the burbs, send their kids to this ultra. It's not a private school, but it very much well could be. And it was just not like I would prefer my school right now, just in terms of the vibes, quote unquote. Kids walked around stressed and kids walked around with these sort of status expectations, and I kind of hated it.
So,
Um,
so the expectations from other people around them, from like the staff, or
it was staff, it was student driven, and it was definitely parent driven. Just expectations of like, this is a school that I think had their top 20 kids get into the Ivies.
yeah,
That's a lot of kids in the Ivy Leagues. And then there's like
yeah,
the sub Ivies like Bates. I don't know. There's a bunch of
yeah, yeah.
great private schools, right? You could learn, but like, the top 50 kids, the top 100 kids, all are getting into those schools. They're in an environment where you're expected to just be great and perform. And turns out that kind of sucks from the perspective of a 15-year-old, right? Like, who would have thought? Um, on the flip side, at my school, like I would love a little bit more emphasis on the academia. We do a great job making kids feel comfortable. Um, we have a tough time pushing them to care about academics. We really do.
We
Um,
Simon and I have a friend named Andy off at Irwin who's a storyteller, but he lives outside of Atlanta, and one of his good friends was a principal at an inner city school for 20 years. And then she spent the last 5 years of her career at some super fancy school like you're talking about. And she said, I spent the first 20 years of my career telling kids that they mattered or that they were special. And I spent the last 5 years of my career telling kids that they weren't. So I think I kind of.
oh my God.
But see,
Yeah,
and that
no.
would be the interesting thing about going into that first school you were talking about is that I would probably pull up thinking, these are this is a well-off group. They're gonna get stuff. They're gonna have cultural references that I can tap into. But then when I got an auditorium, they would be thinking probably, why do I need to be in here? I need to be studying for my calculus test or something. And so they would be distracted for a whole different set of reasons than kids in other places would be distracted, so that's why I was talking. I mean, we started this conversation just trying to read the school as soon as you go in.
Mhm.
But Simon, you asking about culture change. I tell this story, Gilbert, where how do I jump in here? So this kid is doing a protest in the school because they don't have a flag for his country hanging in the gym. And so he climbs the rope and he gets up in the rafters and they're chasing him. They have the fire department there and he's monkey barring back and forth on the rafters and they can't get him. So they call the dog catcher and the dog catcher has the big net, but the net won't get him. So he goes out to his truck and he gets a tranquilizer gun. And but what's really interesting, I tell it in schools all the time because it's meant for kids. But when I wrote the story, he goes out and was this whole dramatic scene where he lays down the gun case and I kind of describe what it is and he flips it open and there's a gun. And our first reaction as kids is, oh no, they're going to shoot Wally. But then we think, way to take one for the team. And but then obviously school shootings. I mean, I wrote that story a long time ago. And so school shootings have gotten so prevalent now that I've had to completely drop that out of the story.
Yeah.
And even when I tell it to adults, I don't do it anymore because now, I mean, you're probably about Sandy Hook age. And
Oh yeah. My town
so
was 45 minutes from that.
yeah. So I don't know now if I'm speaking on colleges or to adults that I don't know that I'm not speaking to people who have been involved in a school shooting. And so, that's one of the many ways that things have changed.
Yeah,
We have
there's
a
a
dark joke. Oh, yeah, we
go
have
on.
I mean this is a dark joke probably told with I mean my kids bring it up and my colleagues bring it up, but the dark joke about school shootings is, at least in our school, like whenever we have a lockdown because we have these drills, the kids are like, "Oh, why are we doing this, mister? This is a white kid problem." I'm like, that's right. Our shootings happen outside of the school. We wouldn't want to disrupt anyone's education, We
Right.
don't want to
Yeah.
be rude about it. You but that's the
Consider it.
off-color joke in our school for sure before we talk about this stuff. But it's on
Yeah,
the flip side, right? Bringing up Sandy Hook, yeah, total, absolute tragedy that this stuff is happening, and certainly frustrating from a teacher perspective that
yeah,
nothing happened about it. Nothing.
right.
Yeah.
And still nothing happens about it. But anyway, yeah, there's a lot of there were not a lot, but there's a few folk tales that that have guns in them that I am very careful about telling, and I talk to teachers if I think I might tell it because it just feels like a good story to tell. Because stories that, I don't know, Bill probably feels the same way. Stories like children, there'll be a long one that's like, tell me, tell me, tell me. And there's the one that you were planning on telling that goes and hides somewhere and you just can't bring it to your mind no matter how much you want to, right? And a story like that might come up, and I'll be like, is it okay to tell this, or should I stay well clear of this problem? And now it's got to the point where, like Bill, I'm not even sure if I would tell it, even if the teacher said yes, because I don't know what's going to happen, next week or next month or whatever.
I was in a school out in California. This was a long time ago, but as a super exclusive private school, and this teacher had brought me in. So just briefly, I tell a story where I need to teach my dog to not be scared of guns because he's a hunting dog, but he's scared of guns. So I tie a rope to his collar and to my belt loop, and I show him the bullet, and he smells the bullet, and I fire the bullet from my rifle, and then he chases the bullet. And then I end up stuck to the side of a train by my tongue because it's cold outside, and then I fly the train around. It's a stupid story. And this woman, this teacher who'd hired me, she heard me tell that story. And then another story about us hunting. And she saw me later after school, and she said, I didn't even think about it, and this isn't your fault. But she said, more than half the kids in our school are vegan for various reasons, because they're rich white people. And 90% of them come from families that are just aghast at the idea of a gun. And so I just told these two simple stories about going hunting, and there was a gun, and I guess they traumatized some of those children. I think they probably got over it by now, but
The word traumatized drives me nuts. But
yeah.
Yeah. No, I totally get that, Bill. It's like there's a lot of hunting that goes on in New Hampshire and Vermont as well. It's kind of funny. Like, how many of you kids hunt? This is an elementary school.
Dude, let me tell you this story just because I think it'll make you guys laugh. Being from New Hampshire, we were taking the kids up to senior trip, and it's kind of like this. It's called Aroma Villa. It's this crappy little resort that's a fun time for our seniors. And we take a bus up, and we're driving out of New York City, and we finally start seeing like trees, and there's a deer. And then one kid just points out and goes, "Whoa, I've never seen one of those before." And I'm like, "What? A deer? Like you've never seen a deer before? Like it's basically a rodent." She was like, "No, I've never seen one in IRL, in real life." I was like, "What is going on right now?" I just was like, "Holy moly!" Like a lot of these kids have just like don't know like the 20 blocks outside of or within Harlem. It's very interesting.
Yeah, and that, Simon, you're muted.
I got a furnace going off, so I was trying to negate the sound.
And that's part of what I deal with when I go into school, because almost all of my stories are about being a white kid in rural West Virginia in 1987. So we're in the woods, we're going fishing, we're going to the river, we're driving cars down country roads. I mean, they're all funny, and they all, I think, because we're also usually getting in trouble, with resonates no matter where you are. But I go into a school, I'm going to assume like yours, and just asking myself, what on earth do I have in common with these kids? And because they've just lived an entirely different life than mine. I mean, never seen a deer. I got probably, if it was light outside, I got probably see 6 deer standing in my yard right now. And so that's where it's just interesting every time I go into a school that I'm asking, well, a school that's not a bunch of country kids, but just what do I have in common with these kids? And that's why, as I said earlier, that when I win, when it goes well, I'm like, yeah, it's really great to connect with a bunch of kids. I mean, they're looking at me. I said this in the article too. I wear a t-shirt tucked into my jeans with a belt when I tell stories. It's the stupidest thing in the world. And then I wear a hat. So I know I go into a school, it doesn't even matter where I am, but the kids are like, what's this man doing up there? I don't want to listen to this guy, So I got to be funny right out of the door. To catch the kids' interest.
You got to win fast.
Yeah. Well, that's why I always say in a junior high and a high school, I mean, you got really maybe 5 minutes.
That's it. I would say even less.
Yeah.
These kids like TikTok, dude. That's
right.
They're used to the screen cocaine.
Right.
Not entertaining in 10 seconds. I'm out.
Yeah.
One time I went into a school, and it was a high school. It was Friday. at like 2 o'clock. So the next thing that was going to happen was school was over, and
Oh,
then it was spring break, and
oh.
the teachers are like,
Did they show up?
interest these children. And I'm like, I'm not interested in these children. Like, I just checked my ego at the door on that one. I'm like, if this goes good, great. If it goes bad, it's not my fault.
Dude, there's no teacher on this planet that knows how to teach an eighth period Friday before spring break. There's not a
Right.
single one. It's
Yeah.
like, hey, I'm
Look,
making ice cream. 6 of you can join me, and the rest of you that don't even want to make ice cream, I did my best, you know?
Right.
yeah, it's like the last week before Christmas break, the winter holidays, right? When they break up, I'll have a school call me up and say, "Oh, would you come in on the last day of school?" And I'm like, my fee doubles on the last day of school, right? And they're like, "Really?" And it's like, well, not quite, but I do pay. There is danger money that's involved. Yeah, I was in this one high school in New Hampshire. It's a pretty large one. There's large for New Hampshire. I think there's something like 1,000 kids in each grade. There's two high schools in that town, and all of the kids like funnel into these two high schools, and they have like 3 full-time police officers there. They got the metal detectors in the doors, probably like your school, I'm imagining. And I was doing this workshop with these kids following a performance, and this girl's got this phone out, and I was like, "Can you put that away, please?" So she like puts it on her lap, and like 2 seconds later, it's in her hand again, right? So I was like, "Look, this isn't working. You're distracting me. You're distracting the people around you. You're distracting yourself. I'm just going to take your phone from you. I'm going to put it over here, okay?" Right? So she was like, "Okay." So I put it down on this table where everyone could see it, right? She pulls another phone out of her bag.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. And so I'm like, "Seriously?" And she's like, "Yeah." It's like, "Is that a burner phone?" She's like, "No, I just got 2 phones." And so I take that off her. And this is like a few years ago, right? So I take that off and stick it next to the other. And then she pulls out a bloody iPod. I'm like,
Yeah.
"What are you doing? What are you doing?"
There,
So
I don't know if you read my cell phone article.
I did.
But yeah, like so we actually don't have a scanner, but we do check phones in at the door, and kids will get pretty sly. Like, here's my old phone. They'll pretend it's theirs. They'll hand you that one. They'll go into the school, try not to get caught with it. If they do, some kid had like an iPad on top of that, right? Like, just the addiction is real.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah, but
absolutely real.
I mean, it's not the worst is when you're doing an assembly and the teachers are all sitting around on their phones.
Oh,
Yeah.
100%, man.
Do you
Like
call them
it
out on
never
it?
bothered me in the old days. It never bothered me when teachers were grading papers because I need to fidget sometimes to listen. But if you're grading papers, you're in the room. You're still
Yeah.
sitting there in the room.
Yeah.
They're on their phone. Just I keep meaning to write a story where I can just kind of slide into it just about a teacher on a phone in an assembly because the kids would all pick up on it immediately and then they would turn and look at that teacher and shame them and it would be wonderful.
So do you not call the teachers out when you find that?
Not when it's all of them.
Uh,
I
Yeah, I
mean,
guess. Because I'll call them out. I'll be funny about it. I was like, "Oh, are you FaceTiming some of the other teachers in other schools that I'm really good and that I should
oh,
you
that's
should."
good, yeah.
And then they're like, "Oh, then they put it away, right?" And sometimes teachers will be talking to each other, and so I'll do a little pep talk at the beginning. I was like, I will be calling teachers out if I see you talking because I hold you to the same standards, if not higher, than the kids. Because of the plumber's rule. So if I see you talking, be prepared. I might get
But
you
on
up
the
here
other
with
side of
me.
that, you know, it's wonderful when you're in a school and you get the teachers laughing
Oh gosh, yeah.
because then the kids they're enjoying the teachers laughing. But I'm now at the point when I started this job, teachers were basically my age and got all of my cultural references. But now teachers are 35 years younger than me. And they're like, no, we didn't. We didn't have
mm.
cable. We didn't have a phone on the wall. I don't even know what you're talking about. So
You guys are incredible. Like, I'm thinking through this through my head, and I'm like, the only reason my jokes and stories land as a teacher is because these kids know me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, And I've gotten to the point, this is my ninth year, same school. I kind of know who's coming in through the door at this point. Like I can win the crowd fast, but I'm thinking of you guys as like Maximus Decimus Meridius talking to Proxima. It's like I will win the crowd. Like, and your crowd is hostile. Like these are
Yeah.
teen. I don't care where it is. Like these are teenagers. You got 2 minutes to try and entertain these guys, or else it's like, dude, I could be on my electronic cocaine device. Like, what are we
Yeah.
doing here?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then we're there for maybe an hour and we get to leave and never have to go back.
It's true.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're invited and we say no, and sometimes we're not invited.
That's right. That's right. No, I have to stay when I lose the crowd. Oh man. If I don't hit it off with a freshman class, it's like, oh, I only got you guys for 4 more years. Cool. Cool.
Yeah, my daughter, she says, because this job pays so well, I sometimes get other jobs as well, and sometimes I've subbed in schools, right? And my daughter would be like, you should become a teacher. All the kids love you when you come in and sub. And I was like, I can't be a teacher. I don't have that. I don't have the right mentality. It's like being a grandparent, being a performing artist or a teaching artist. You go into the school, you have your fun with the kids, and then you bugger off out again. And I was like, the teachers, they're like the parents. They're stuck with those kids,
Yeah, I know.
And so
all the time, I'm like, so I actually have a student teacher for the first time this year. It's been awesome trying to get
right.
in my head.
How's that going?
Amazing, really amazing, and also totally humbling in some regards, from the standpoint of I would like to think that I actually have these great structures and systems in my class. Like you enter, you look at the whiteboard, you check the instant activity, you do the instant activity, clap once if you can hear me, clap twice if you can hear me. Need you to find your floor spots in 5, 4, 3. Okay, you're in your floor spots. Stomp once if you can hear me again. Cool. Check the floor. Like I have this very routinized machine that I would have loved to believe anyone can step into this as long as they've established this routine and anyone could run this show. And no, not the case. So I showed my student teacher all these things to do. And just in my head, like hearing him, the way he would say like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, like there's no conviction behind it. And because there's no conviction behind the 5, 4, right? Like I really like announcer that thing. He'll be like, all right, 5, 4, 3. All right, cool. We're kind of there. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, whoa, you gotta commit to that. And I'm like realizing the tonality and the way that you say things is actually so much more important than I had given it any credit for. And now it's a challenge of, well, how do I actually teach that? Like, how do I teach you to say the exact same thing you're saying in a way that makes them believe it? And that has been an interesting challenge so far this year. But I also kind of think that comes down to reps to a degree. I'm just like, I got to keep getting them in front of kids, and like, I'm going to hammer how you say these systems, but also like, you're kind of going to have to learn and figure out your own style with the kids as well. But it's been really nice having another adult in the room, to be honest.
How much, if you don't mind me asking, how much younger are they to you?
The student teacher?
Yeah.
He's 28. I'm 34, so not a huge gap. He's a friend as much as anything else, but there is a level of, okay, this guy is my cooperating teacher. Like this is my boss, and I would like to think I'm a pretty kind boss.
Yeah.
I'll dog him a little bit if he shows up late, or if a class falls apart, there will definitely be a conversation where it's like, well, what do you think happened? How do you think you could have saved that? And sometimes you can't, right? Like my classes fall apart all the time. If a kid starts cursing out at another kid, it's like, and then you get a group of kids egging one kid on and another group of kids egging the other kid on. Sometimes you just don't win that. Sometimes you call security and you call it a day on that. Right.
Yeah.
The only thing I say after that is when you have a situation like that, I'm like, no matter what, try and get them back into the activity, try and get them back into some sort of normalcy of your class. Like, even if you have 3 minutes, I don't care. Start the volleyball game, do the thing, remind them that it's PE class. We had this massive blow up. Okay. And we're still playing sports, even if we got 3 minutes left. Don't give up.
I saw one of our colleagues, Reggie Carpenter, she's out in upstate New York, near the Lawrence River. Is that right? Anyway,
yeah.
We were in in Jonesboro, which is the National Storytelling Festival, and she's up on the stage. She's doing a set. There's like 1,000 people in the audience, right? And there's a number of storytellers and friends and stuff that were sitting to the side in this little, closed off, the balcony seats, if you were, but you're on the ground, right? And this guy comes walking down like the main aisle down the front towards the stage, and he's like looking around. He's looking around, and he's like, "I'm looking for Reggie Carpenter," to me, right? And I'm just like, "Okay, so why do you need Reggie?" Right? He's like, "Well, I got this poster for him," right? And I was like, "Okay, well, they're kind of busy right now, so can I like take it and I'll give it to them, when I see them next?" Because like this guy he was tripping hard, right?
Oh, nice. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, he was
Right.
bombed out of his brain. I don't know what was going on. And
Good for him.
Reggie's
Okay, yeah.
sister was sitting behind me, and he's like, "Do you know where Reggie is?" And she'd already picked up that this wasn't a good thing, and she's like, "No, it's like, I'm her sister. Give me the poster." And he threw it at us. And he started to walk out, and then he started walking back, and then the police come in. And he's pretty much dragged out while Reggie's telling this incredible story. And Reggie does these very deep personal narratives that are very like meaningful, and you find yourself caught in them. And so the moment's gone, right? Everyone's like, what is going on as this guy's dragged out? He's holding on to one of these tent poles, and these are like big poles. And if he pulls that out, then the whole thing's coming down, right? On top of 1,000 people. So they get him out, and then Reggie, she just turns around and says, "Can we bring our minds back into the story now?" And she was so gracious about it. And I'm sure that man is getting what he needs, and let's bring our focus back to the story. And it was absolutely amazing.
And she pulled it off.
She did. Oh, absolutely pulled it off. I was totally in awe. Everybody was like with Reggie then. And then afterwards, the police officer that was in charge of all that, he came up to the hotel to make sure that everyone was all right and nobody was like shaken or anything. So I was like, "So what happened to the guy?" And he's like, "Well, it took 6 of us to get him in the police car, and we tasered him 3 times."
Oh my God.
And he still kicked out the back window of the cruiser. And it's like, holy crow. What would have happened if I'd said, "Oh, that's," not thinking, just be, "Oh, that's Reggie up there." Like,
When was that?
I can't think. It was 2019. It was 2019.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So to go back to your student teacher, I was in a school and I was with a storyteller who is kind of, new, breaking into the market. And I think it was an elementary school, like we had 3rd through 6th. And it just wasn't going well. The teachers weren't paying attention. The kids weren't paying attention. She was speaking and she was really quiet and just losing the audience, just losing them. The longer she talked, the more she lost them. And I was sitting over there thinking, because I'm really loud and big and I mean, I move. And I was thinking, well, when I get up there, I'll get this crowd. I'll show her how it's done. No, they hated me more than they hated her.
Oh, really?
Oh man. Oh,
what happened then? So
just a nice dose of humility, just the universe being like, "Suck it, Lep."
little humble pie for you, Yeah. Oh my God.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, because sometimes going quiet helps. Because the kids are like, "Wait, what's going on?" And then they start listening again. But
Yeah, it's a technique, but she just wasn't loud enough. But they weren't gonna. It didn't matter. They weren't gonna listen.
Storyteller that wasn't loud enough. Man, I feel like that's a 101 for you guys, right? Project to the back of the room.
Yeah. But that's the other thing. We go into a school and we might be in the auditorium that seats 1,000 people, and no one has thought to have a microphone.
Oh, right. Lovely. Okay.
Or sound treated the room.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Auditoriums, they're the worst. And also like the what do they call them? The gymatory cafeterium.
Yeah.
when it's everything.
This reminded me of the time I bombed at graduation last year. Oh man. I thought I had this great speech and it was just too long. It was too long. Like I had them in the first part and then I just kept going. And I was like, I remember timing it and practicing. I was like 15 minutes. They can hang in there 15 minutes. No, they cannot.
Yeah,
And you know,
that's worse than the day before spring break. I mean, because they're done
yeah,
at that point.
Yeah. Yeah.
They got nothing.
next
Yeah.
year, brevity. Brevity will be a word I repeat to myself.
Yeah. They're thinking about their stogies that they're going to light, or the boys are mostly. They're going to think of their stogies they're going to light when they're not supposed to.
I mean, I'm sure anything, getting out of there. Yeah.
That's awesome. So, Gilbert, do you have any advice for people like me and Bill coming into a high school that might work for us?
There will be no advice that works 100% of the time. But I think it kind of alludes to what Bill was saying in that article. But I would tell you to try and win the crowd before you're in front of the crowd.
Yeah.
One of the articles I wrote, and it's still one of my favorite pieces to this day, is the philosophy of 1,000 fist bumps. And this applies more to, a teacher that's going to be there. But even then, like, if you can have a conversation with a kid before you go on, if you can make a quick dumb comment to a couple of kids that go, maybe there's a way, like you overhear a conversation like, oh, she wants to go to the party tomorrow night, and you just walk past and you're like, yeah, it's going to be a great party. Keep walking, like, who is that guy, right? And then if you're almost flirting with the world a little bit, but you're entering a space that you almost want to be immediately friendly to anything in that space before you get up on the stage. And I feel like you guys kind of do that already, right? Like, I want to have a quick word with one of the teachers. What's going on here? If you can make a quick impression, and what I got across in philosophy of 1,000 fist bumps was, if you can just hand out a fist bump, right? You don't even have to know someone sometimes, right? If you can smile and give someone a fist bump, there's an immediate connection, even if it's like, okay, he's giving me a fist bump, but he's smiling. So, most of the time a high schooler will bite on that. And it's like, oh, that's that dude up there that gave me a fist bump. All right, maybe I'll give him, instead of my prerequisite 30 seconds of TikTok entertainment, I might give him a minute or 2 minutes of grace before I decide he's terrible up there or something like that. But I would interact with the environment before you get on the stage, right? Like anything you can do to establish some ethos, because again, you're going in as a no name, you're going in as someone they have no idea. But if you're the guy that handed out 50 fist bumps, just walking down the hallway, smile, fist bump, or even offer a fist bump, right? And trust me, it stings when a kid's like, no, I'm not fist bumping you. And whenever that happens to me, I immediately just fist bump myself and then go back to giving fist bumps. Because I never miss a fist bump. Like that, I think that's worth something. I'm not a storyteller. I'm not in your position. Like, my position is I am going to grow a relationship with you over time.
Right.
But one of my main tools, and it's such a low cost tool, is the fist bump. And I don't think people think of it that way. Like, I probably give out, I want to say, 300 fist bumps a day. Anytime I go down the hallway during passing time, boom, 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 to the point where kids automatically raise their fist to give me a fist bump, even if I'm just standing there, and I'll be like, oh yeah, right. Like, now I got to give you a fist bump.
Yeah.
And now that's like training over time. But again, I think it's more powerful than anybody gives it credit for. That'd be like a very practical thing I would offer out there.
Yeah. I think that's a pretty good one.
That makes sense, Bill.
Yeah, I used before COVID, I was like a high five guy, and I was giving a bunch of high fives out to these
You gotta
kids.
go elbow now.
Yes, but this one kid was like no, and the teacher was like, personal space. And I was like, okay.
Oh,
I was like, how about a low toe then if you won't give me a high five? And they were like, what? And I was like, we just like touch toes. I was like, we did that, and it was like, okay, and that worked. And the next
now
time
you're the
I
low
went
toe guy.
Yeah, and then I was like, because some of the kids are like, I want a low toe too, and the other kids are like, no, I'm just gonna do the high five. That's just too weird. But you know, the next time I went in the school and I saw this kid, I got a high five from her. You know, so it
Yeah.
was like it does work. It does help.
I think that's some of the good stuff, man.
Yeah. Oh, it
You
is.
know,
Yeah,
tiny
I try and
interactions
be
like that.
I try and be out in the auditorium when the kids are coming in
Hmm.
and doing stuff. I mean, it's easier with younger kids. Like, I mean, I was scared to talk to high school girls when I was in high school. I'm still scared to
Hmm.
talk to high school girls, but
Yeah, they're mysterious.
oh man, I was at it was a jail for high school kids in it doesn't matter, big city, and they had the boys on one side and the young women on the other, and I was getting nothing, and I mean it was in a jail, so there were guards standing there, you know, not a lot of levity going on, but finally, what must have been the alpha female, she chuckled. And as soon as she chuckled, that gave everyone else permission to laugh. And then we had a great time.
That's
Once she chuckled, the other young women started laughing. And then once they were laughing, the guys were like, all right, we can laugh. So,
the guys are got to
so
be cooler than the girls. Is that what it was?
no, they got to be
Gotta be
cool for
cool.
the girls.
Gotta
Oh,
be
right,
cool.
right. Cool for the
So
girls.
it's interesting when you can, especially if you can identify the kid who's kind of in charge.
Yeah,
That's a great point.
it is a
That's
good
a great
point.
point.
It is a good
Yeah,
point.
like
It makes
even
a
in my
huge
own
difference too.
classes, even
Yeah,
in my own classes, when I recognize there's a kid that's a little bit more popular, or there's kids that look up to them, you know, I don't want to, as a teacher, I don't want to lean in and be like, oh, this is the popular kid. I gotta give this kid attention. But like, man, does it help if they like your class? It
yeah,
Yeah.
really does. There's no getting away from it.
I
yeah.
had a professor in college who started out as a inner city New York English teacher or something in a heavily Italian neighborhood. And, you know, he said it was just crazy. I mean, this would have been 60 years ago, probably, but he said, you know, like kid would just come up first day of school, would drop a pair of gold cufflinks on his desk and say, my dad says I can get an A in this class. And so, you know, these guys are mobbed up, these kids. And Dr. Sanders said, he said, one time I made the mistake of saying about some kid, you know, like somebody ought to take care of him. And yes, after school, a kid just got beat down, man. So,
Oh,
you know, again, it's just, it's crazy what's going on with these kids. That's another reason why when I go into schools, especially junior high and high school, is I talk with as much respect to those kids, you know, as adults.
yeah.
And
Absolutely.
so that at least, if nothing else, they know that I believe that they're smart and capable human beings and not children.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that's
Yeah,
a huge tell with any teacher too, right? Like the teachers that treat kids with respect, like a very successful, not maybe not a very successful, but a successful teacher is someone that's going to say, here are my standards. These are the standards I'm going to hold you to, but that means I'm treating you like an adult, right?
Yeah.
Like I have expectations for you,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Well, I think it even comes down to like not even necessarily an adult, just treat them like a human being sometimes,
Right.
as well, right? I mean, you see some of these. It's not often that you see these kinds of teachers anymore, but there are definitely teachers that I feel that, you know, you're doing a disservice to all of your colleagues. You're doing a disservice to the kids. You're doing a disservice to yourself. You need to retire because you're not creating any kind of like positive
I got to
impact
get my
on these-
pension, bro. No way. I'm riding this out for another 7 years. I'm going to hand out homework packets and just, you can't do anything about it. I'm tenured, baby.
So how long do you have to be at your school before you get tenure?
Oh, I have it.
Oh, you
I
do?
have it. Yeah, I'm tenured. Hence the dodgeball jokes. I didn't play dodgeball till the day I got tenure. I was like, oh, finally. All right, kids, this is how you play. And I am on that team, and all of you guys that I don't like are on that team. And wham! Yeah. I'm like half joking. Half.
Yeah. No, I'd love to come and visit your school and hang out. That'd be awesome. I think it'd be a lot of fun. Kind of
I
mad.
lost both of you guys.
I was thinking about your question again, some advice that I could offer. Maybe the other one, and it's probably maybe it goes without saying, but show no fear.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You can't, I'm sure you guys already know that. And that probably goes across for any crowd, period. But man, if you're timid as an adult in front of teenagers,
they're gonna take you out.
it's a sinking ship so fast. Like I even remember my first year like being very careful with particular words that I said and with I'm trying to find the right way to say this. Like I wasn't fully myself, right? I wasn't my full authentic self to a certain degree. It's like, oh, I want them to think this about me. And as soon as you are in that frame of mind, dude, they sniff it out.
Yeah,
They can tell you're acting. They can tell there's not like performance from a like I'm telling the story really well
right. No, I
perspective.
get it.
Like,
Yeah,
I want you to think this about me, even though that's not exactly who I am. There is something about standing in front of 26 teenagers where that just does not fly.
yeah.
Um,
I think it's like kids generally, even elementary school kids, they can sniff
yeah.
that stuff out as well. Because if you try to like play that game with them, like, oh, I'm the cool guy, right?
Mm,
And you try too hard to be the cool guy,
yeah.
right? They're just like, yeah, no, you're not actually. Like, see ya.
But they'll know. Like
Yeah, they were.
they're like, I don't know if any adult can tell, but I feel like teenagers can tell more. Maybe that's just because I'm in front of 26 of them so often.
Yeah, probably.
But you show no fear. Like when you wear, like if I wear a particular pair of sneakers, right? I'm wearing barefoot sneakers right now. I'm trying to like fix some Achilles tendonitis, and they look awful, right? And I'm in Harlem, dude. Like this is Sneakerville Central. Like your reputation is based off of how cool your Jordans are.
Yeah,
And I walk in with these Vivo barefoot shoes, and they're like, "What are those?" And I'm like, "I have Achilles tendonitis. Leave me alone. All right? You want to fight about it?" And like, and then they're okay, right? They're like, "All right, we're still gonna make fun of them." I'm like, "You can make fun of them, but I'm gonna have less pain, and I'm gonna enjoy that." All right, you know. Whereas like if there's a teacher that sort of flinches away from that, it's like, no, right, or like tries to ignore it or something like that. I think you lose points instead of doubling down on the reasons that you do things.
yeah,
And I'm sure that works somewhere in storytelling or presenting or something like that.
Yeah, I
There's
mean,
being,
you got to just get up there and, um, without being, I don't know, egotistical about it, you have to show that I'm in charge and I'm good at this, no matter what it is.
right.
mm,
You have to
And
own. You have
that,
to own. They know that you own it.
because I'm
I
already
think,
standing up a lot of times on a stage with a microphone, which is, as we all know, the number one fear in the world.
and you
Yes.
got your t-shirt tucked into your jeans,
Into my with a belt
right?
on.
With a belt on. I mean,
But
see, but that's owning it.
I do generally wear snazzy shoes.
He
Oh,
does. He does.
what brands we got here? What are we
I
talking
mean,
about?
they're just usually loud, is all I'm saying. Like they're
Okay, all
bright orange.
right.
I do like some
Mm,
crazy ultras though.
appreciate my kids would appreciate that. Yep.
I don't know if I can get my foot up here, but that's what my shoe looks like right now.
Oh yeah, they would like that, dude. They would like that for sure, for sure.
Yeah,
You know
you
what's
should.
weird? These kids like Asics now. I'm like, what?
Yeah,
Like I associate that sneaker with like the dad running the bar, like a boomer running a barbecue, and I'm like,
yeah,
how are these the popular shoes now? They have made Asics so popular. Asics, like the running sneaker with like the fat rubber sole, is selling for like $180. I was like, a pair of J's is 100, like $200. What are you guys doing? What have you
yeah,
done to the shoe market? Stop that.
yeah, yeah. You should look up Bill's. I don't know if it was today's Instagram. What was that guy like? Turkey Tom or something like that?
Hot rod.
Hot Rod.
I was in Cincinnati. And this guy walks by me and he stops and he goes, "Man, those are some fly shoes."
Yeah.
He goes, "Here's what I want you to do." He goes, "I want you to go on Instagram." He says, "I want you to take a picture of those shoes, go on Instagram, and I want you to say Hot Rod said you're the flyest mother scratcher in Ohio." And I was like, "I'm not gonna let Hot Rod down."
I'm not turning that down at all.
He didn't. He was up there. I read it. I saw it.
Within minutes.
I love that.
It looked like you did it
That,
almost
that would make
instantly.
my day. My day.
So, Bill, what can you share to people that might be watching this that are not so comfortable about going into middle and high schools?
Mm.
Did you say Gil or Bill?
I said Bill.
Yeah.
Me.
Yeah, Mr. Lett.
Um. Well, first of all, just as a defense mechanism, you're not going to be in there very long. You might be doing an hour set. You might be doing 8 sets over the day, but when you're done, you're done. As we've said earlier, you get in the car and you go away. So just keep that in mind. Probably, well, don't pin your ego on how one group of high schoolers thinks about you. Because again, as we've discussed, every school is different. Every school has its own culture, and some days you win the kids and some days you don't. It doesn't mean that you're not good. Also, don't pin your ego on if you do great at one school, because
Yes.
that could also be an anomaly.
Yeah, and the next one you go to, you find the complete opposite, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, as I said in my article, just these kids are dealing with 1,000 things. You remember what you were dealing with when you were in high school. The same things are still going on. And I was driving through a rural Ohio the other day, and I saw this huge billboard that said something like syphilis is on the uptick. They took out a billboard. And so whatever, that county's got to be going through some stuff. I mean, it must be pretty bad that they took out a billboard.
That's right.
So these kids, whatever else they got going on, they also got to be watching out for syphilis. So you just got to talk to these kids with respect. And many of these kids don't have a lot of people in their lives telling them what you're doing is good. You're a good person. I see you. I respect what you're trying to get done. And I hope you the best for you. So, yeah, I try and communicate that in my stories. I try and, without being overt about it, without giving a real motivational speech, but I do try. And a lot of times I will finish, though. And J.K. Rowling's kind of fallen out of fashion because she said some pretty stupid things recently. But when she wrote the Harry Potter books, she was a single mother from an abusive family working as a waitress in a bar. And now she was for a minute the richest woman in the world. And so I tell the kid, don't let anyone tell you. You probably know this story, Simon. Harley went into the bar where she wrote Harry Potter. And he said to the bartender, excuse me, can you tell me where? And the bartender pointed at a booth and said, she sat right there and wrote Harry Potter. And I stood right here and did a crossword puzzle. And his point was, we thought she was wasting her time because a single woman a single mother from an abuse situation working as a waitress in a bar isn't going to publish a book. And so, I tell the kids that story so that, and then I follow that up with, there are going to be adults who are going to tell you whatever it is you want to do, you can't do. And I say it's going to be some bitter adult who didn't follow their dreams or listen to cranky, bitter adults. I say they're going to tell you because the color of your skin, how you identify, who you love, who you worship, they're going to have 1,000 reasons to tell you. And when they tell you that, just think of J.K. Rowling and, go tell them to put a feather in a stick and stick in their eye.
What's the thing?
Well, you're right. But I always try and finish with that, whether it's
Violence.
a great show or not. I try and finish with giving these kids don't let other people's opinion of you decide who you're going to be.
Yeah. I totally agree with that. So there's a story that I quite often tell which says exactly that from Africa. And it's about this guy who finds this eagle and he tells everybody that it's a chicken. And everyone's like, well, his kids agree that it's a chicken because it's like, Dad, he told us it must be a chicken, right? Because we believe everything that Dad says. And then before they grow up, they realize that everything that Dad says was a lie. But the farmer's friend, he's like, this is not a chicken, this is an eagle, right? And he says, fly, eagle, fly, and it just lands because it's living with these chickens and it thinks it's a chicken. And then the last part of the story is he throws it off this cliff, and eventually the eagle actually spreads its wings and takes flight. And the last thing he says is, Fly, eagle, fly, be who you are and not what others tell you to be. And I think that's, there are some schools I go in, I'm like, that's a story that these kids need to hear today, and it's a really powerful story. But yeah, and one of the things I'd like to share with folks is, there are going to be teachers that are just as disruptive of the kids when they try to stop the kids from being disruptive. Roll with it, or just wave at them and say, I've got it, don't worry about it. But that teacher won't let you do that half the time anyway. And where was I going with that? Yeah, we don't know what the kids are going through at home, right? We don't know why that kid's misbehaving. The teachers might, right? And there might be a lot of stuff going on in that kid's home. And to have a bit more compassion for the kids, if you feel like grinding your teeth and you just want to take one of those metal chairs and stick it in their eye, then
now you're thinking like a teacher.
Yes, yeah. You just don't know, you don't know what's going on in these kids' lives. And likewise,
I probably said this in the article too, but I feel good when a kid falls asleep in my audience because I think, hey, they feel safe. They feel safe enough with me standing here that they can go to sleep. Now, you can't do that every day in your classroom, but I never wake a kid up.
Yes. Well, it's one less audience to worry about, right?
Not on his phone.
Yeah, right.
Not on his phone, yeah.
They're not calling out. They're not disrupting other people, unless there's that kid that's like, sir, 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 sir.
Maybe that's a move too, right? And I guess you have an audience of storytellers that listen here, right? The framing is huge, right? Okay, they're not clapping at my story, but they're not, like, if they're just staring off into the distance, right? The new standard is, well, they're not on their phone, right? Like, one of my jokes with my teachers is like, man, kids don't daydream enough.
Yeah, they don't.
Oh, like if you're like momentarily bored, you whip out your endless entertainment device. But if they're just sitting there, even if they're not reacting, like, maybe one of the framings you could say to yourself is, well, he's not on his phone.
Yeah.
Maybe he's daydreaming about something I said, and maybe what I'm not particularly funny right now, or maybe I am and he's missing the point. But
Right.
everything framing wise could be like just like Bill said, well, this guy's comfortable enough to fall asleep in front of me.
Yeah.
Nice, right? Like, all right, that kid's comfortable enough where he doesn't have to whip out his phone right now. Like, this is possibly more interesting than that, right?
And also, I would suggest that, I mean, when we tell, unlike other theater forms, we generally have the lights on so we can see the audience, especially in a school. I want to be able to see them. But if you're not getting a big emotional reaction, just there's kids out there that are interested in what you're saying. They are enjoying it. So, it's part of your job to make eye contact with the audience. Find one kid at least. Generally, most of them are enjoying it, but find the kids who are looking at you like they're interested and making expressions that are equal to the emotions that you're trying to convey. And just, as you scan the audience, check in on those kids every now and again. At least you'll feel, yeah, I'm getting through. It's working.
Yeah. This summer, I brought out this new story. Bill and I tell different kinds of stories. Bill tells these wonderful tall tales, and I tell folk and fairy tales. And I was telling this folk tale that I'd never told before that much, other than like practicing it. And I thought it bombed, absolutely bombed. It was in the summer. It was to a Parks and Recreational camp. All the kids were there, and I wrote to the organizer the next day saying thank you for having me and all this kind of stuff. And I got this email back saying that story that you thought bombed, the kids were acting it out, and because it was about it's called Three Heads in the Well, and there are these three heads that float in this well. And all of the kids, apparently, after they left the storytelling thing, they went to the pool to play in the pool, and they're all being three heads in the well and acting out the story. And I thought they weren't even paying attention. I thought that half of them were asleep, and it turns out that no, you just don't know what's going on in their wonderful little heads.
It's a great rule for school in general. Like, this is on the deeper side of things. I won't say this always happens again, but I had this kid that went to my weightlifting program for 4 years. He was one of my best weightlifters. He ended up setting some of the school records. He ended up getting a trap bar. He convinced our principal to get a trap bar on stage to deadlift 400 pounds in front of the graduation crowd. I was like, okay, yeah, we're doing this. All right, sick. Like, I've never heard of that before. But anyway, kid loved weightlifting, loved the program that I made. And on one of the last days of school, he hands me this letter. And I'm like, what's this? He's like, this is for you. And I was like, do you want me to read it now or when you're gone? He's like, you can read it now. And so I just opened it up. And in the letter, it said that he had contemplated suicide and that the weightlifting program and my presence had been a big reason why he decided this wasn't worth it. And I had no fucking clue, right?
Yeah.
Like I had no idea. Like, to me, I'm getting you to exercise, I'm getting you to lift some weights, I'm telling some jokes in between, we're hanging out, we're having a good time, we're doing some productive work, we're getting better. And I love that. But I had no clue it had that sort of depth going on in his head. Um, and again, I think that goes back to kids in general. Like, you have no clue
Yeah.
what you're saying and how it affects. And sometimes that happens in the best of ways, right?
Yeah.
Like the story that you thought bombed, no, they're actually paying attention to every single piece of it.
Right.
Maybe it has a much larger meaning than you thought right at that initial get-go.
Yeah. There's a similar thing happened to Bill Harley, another one of our colleagues. I hope he doesn't mind me sharing this story. But
He's not watching.
It's probably true. But he was doing this, residential. He was there for like a week or like a multiple day event, whether it was a 1 week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, I'm not sure. But there was this one kid that really wasn't paying attention. Well, he thought wasn't paying attention. And then he's going through the whole, like, let's make up a story and, go through the whole process of writing a story and then performing it. And he said, who wants to share their story? And this kid who'd been at the back of the room looking like he was daydreaming and not paying any attention put his hand up. At first, if I remember the story right, Bill was a little bit hesitant on calling him because he was like, what's going to happen? Because I haven't seen any input from him the whole time. And he got up and he told this tale about this dragon coming to attack this king, and this knight was fending off the dragon and protecting the king. And one of the teachers came up to Bill afterwards and said that the kid had just lost his dad to cancer. And this is the first time he's articulated anything about that. So again, it goes back to, we don't know what kids are going through in their homes or their lives. And, like what you were saying, Gilbert, we don't, right? All we can do is give the best that we can, do the best job that we can, be the best people that we can in the moment. And you've said this on your blog, we are going to fail because we are human. And, like Bill said, we can't take it to heart. We just got to keep doing the best that we can for these kids. So anyway,
good words.
Any more comments, or should we wrap it up?
That seems like a very poignant place to wrap it up, Simon.
I thought,
Really,
I know, right? Massive downer.
Boom. Yeah. No. Shoot.
Yeah. Well, Bill, thanks for spurring the idea for this and for agreeing to do it. I really appreciate it. Gilbert, thanks for being part of this conversation as well.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thanks for being here. This has been great.
Yeah. Great work, Gilbert. I mean, keep it up. I admire what you do. I respect it a bunch, you and all your coworkers around the world.
Yeah.
We're all idiots, but it's good.